Hey there friends, so Nathan here at Simple Shot, and today I am following up on our slingshot conundrum. So if you remember several months ago we put out a video on the weight of bands and what our predicament is as a manufacturer supplying stock bands on our slingshots. So if you haven't watched that video, now's a good time to go check it out. We'll throw a link up there for you. But if you have watched the video, you remember what our basic problem was, is that the bands we are providing in our slingshots are really heavy. And that folks are coming new to slingshots have an expectation of having heavy bands. And anybody that shot slingshots for a while, especially modern flatband slingshots, recognize that draw weight is not where the performance lies, that there's other factors there. So that's been our conundrum. How do we solve this problem? One thing that Simple Shot does really well, and something that we really enjoy doing, is solving problems and getting to the root of those problems and providing great solutions. So we've done that for you, our customers. So coming forward, we're going to stop sending out the 2 packs of 7/16 slingshot bands. So those are bands that are a 0.7 millimeter thick with a really large taper made for a heavier projectile. Lots of folks these days are shooting clay ammo or lighter steel. Those bands just aren't matched. So what we want to do instead is we're going to give you bands that are appropriate for the given ammo. But we're going to go one step further than that and actually give you some of the ammo in each slingshot. So going forward, no price changes here. We just want to add to it and give you a variety of bands and some samples of ammo so that when you get your slingshot, you can have the experience yourself and understand that shooting a lighter weight band with a lighter weight projectile is actually a better experience. And if you do that, you're going to have a better understanding of the sport. You're going to want to share it with a friend, and ultimately, you're going to have more fun. So stick around. We're going to run a bunch of tests here on our slingshot rig to show exactly how these bands work, what kind of performance you can expect, and most importantly, how to wring a little bit more fun out of your slingshot enjoyment. Stick around. All right, so Nathan back here at Simple Shot, and we are going to go ahead and test our new clay bands using 9.5 millimeter 3/8 diameter clay ammo. So this is the same ammo that will be coming as a sample in your slingshot, and these are the bands. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to shoot these bands full length, and we're going to make all this shooting done at a 30-inch draw. So that's a standard draw length for an average adult human. So we're going to work around that. It makes for easy math. So we're going to shoot that full length with the provided ammo. We're going to shoot it at a 4X, a 5X, and a 6X elongation. So if that is foreign language to you, we got some great videos on that. Definitely go check it out. But here we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to shoot it in our shooting rig. We should get really good repeatable testing here. We've got a solid attachment here that's quick change. We've got a chronograph. I'm going to go ahead and show you here that we are working with a 30-inch draw length. So we're 30 inches, so just a hair over, if anything. We're going to call that 30 inches. Every shot's going to be drawn back that way. The shot over the top with a TTF band time configuration. So if that's of importance to you, maybe pay attention to the groupings. And we're going to shoot at that block down there so we can see the impact, because it's really cool to see the clay splatter. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and load this thing up. So here we go, full length this time. All right. So at full length, we are getting, so these bands are about 10 inches, 10.5 inches. We're drawing them out to 30 inches. So we're roughly getting a 3X elongation. So these are going to be really pokey. They're going to last a long time this way. Let's see what we can expect shooting the supplied clay ammo. All right, that was 164 feet per second. And we are shooting at exactly 10 meters. And one thing to keep in mind is that clay ammo is not perfectly concentric from shot to shot, so there can be some variation. That one was 165 feet per second. Looks like it shot a little bit low. We'll go ahead and give you 5 shots at each size so you can see. And that was almost on point with the last one at 163 feet per second. Back to the first point of impact at 164, so we're seeing really consistent velocities, 163 to 165, and we'll do our final shot here. That one feels out of round. I'm not going to shoot it. That's one thing you can look at with clay ammo, is if you're looking for top performance, definitely sort them over. You will find some peanuts and potatoes in there. They'll still shoot, just not as well. All right, 162, so a range of 162 to 165 feet per second at a 3x elongation, or being installed at full factory length shooting at a 30-inch draw. So next we're going to change this up. We're going to switch over to a 4x elongation. Stay tuned. All right, next up we have got it set up now at 7.5 inches, so that's giving us roughly 4x elongation at 30 inches. So nothing's changed except the length of the bands. So we've now tuned our bands. This is going to be a sweet spot for this ammo, but we're going to go ahead and show you a couple more as well. But we'll do another 5 shots and see what it looks like. That was 220 feet per second. So just by tuning the bands just a bit, we've bumped up that velocity considerably. Now one thing, if you already know about latex, then you'll understand this, but all latex breaks down, wears out, whether you're using it or not. 218 feet per second. And your bands are your consumables. So these bands have a finite number of shots in them. The more we tune them, the more performance we wring out of them, the less shots we're going to get. So just keep that in mind. All right, so we're not stacking the shots quite as well. That was a misread on the last shot, but it felt pretty good. So we'll call that one a dud. That was nice, 219. And then our final shot here. All right, so decent grouping. Again, we're shooting clay ammo, so it's not perfectly spherical. There can be some weight variations, but we're shooting out of a static shooting machine. We're stacking them up pretty good. So of course, this is never going to be as accurate as a round ball, like a steel ball, but we can see we're working pretty good here. So we're shooting around 220 feet per second with our first tuning at a 4x elongation. So I would say that's a great sweet spot for longevity and decent shooting performance. You're going to be able to tear up a soda can with that, and you will get a better than average shots out of it beyond tuning. Now, you're going to ask me next, how many shots am I going to get? That's really hard to say. And one of the reasons that we are using a 0.6 millimeter band for these is that it's just a little bit more durable, because beginners often have mistakes. So we're not going to experience any fork kits out of this shooting machine. We've got perfect conditions here. So these bands are in an optimal state. We could easily get 1,000 shots out of this set of bands, all things being equal in a perfect shooting condition. That doesn't happen in the field. We're also not jamming this into our pocket or dropping it in our floorboard, which all damage and bruise the bands. So like any shooting tool, take care of it. And your bands, remember, they're going to wear out. When you go out to shoot your .22, the bullets don't come back after you squeeze the trigger. Ultimately, you're going to have to replace your bands. All right, so on next, we're going to go to a 5x elongation. We should see a pretty good bump in performance. Let's see what we got. All right, up next, we have got the same band set up at a 5x elongation. So 5 divided into 30 is 6. So we've got 6 inches of working latex in this system. These are going to be hot, guarantee it. Let's take a couple of shots and see what we got. Point of impact was higher, 264 feet per second. So that bumped us up about 40 plus feet per second by reducing our band length by 1.5 inches. That was on point. That was the exact same point of impact as the last one, 261 feet per second. Just below the last 2 points of impact at 264. So we're still seeing consistency. We're seeing our velocity climb. Our draw weight's still pretty light. Same point of impact. We're really stacking them here. So we're tuning these bands. So we can see by tuning them, we're starting to get better groupings. Another thing to consider, these were fresh bands right out of the package. We really didn't take them through too many warm-up shots. Bands do need to kind of settle in. So you really want to give your bands 15, 20 shots to settle in. You can also stretch them. But we can see here that we're really stacking them in there. I believe this is our last shot. That was 259. And if you'll notice, I held that one a little bit longer before I released. And that's an interesting property of latex. Something we can go into and have gone into a lot. Won't go into right here. Let's get this last shot. All right, and we had a flyer there, so that's kind of be expected at 263 feet per second. So what's really interesting, let's find my scale here. There it is. Let's just, for giggles, see what that draw weight is. Now, if you're coming from an archery background, you may be really obsessed or focused on draw weight. But we're getting 263 feet per second with a 9.5 millimeter clay ball at 8.7 pounds of draw weight. So that's really minimal draw weight. Easy enough to manage. We're getting great velocity. That will absolutely shred a soda can, and I've seen it done personally, though I don't recommend it, small game being taken with clay shot. So we've got some really potent bands here. So we're going to finally step it up to 6X. So that's kind of the edge of any modern latex. 600% elongation, stretching it 6 times its relaxed length. This is really going to work into the longevity of these bands. It's going to take a lot of the lifespan out of them, but we should see a tremendous jump in velocity, but we may see the shots go wild. Let's take a look. All right, so we've got it set up now. We have got 5 inches of working latex in this system. So when we draw this out to 30 inches, this is going to be a 600% elongation. So this is really at the edge of the capacities of the latex. So that means we're wringing every bit of the potential performance out of it. Let's see how it handles downrange, because the whole reason we shoot is to be consistently accurate, right? Did we lose anything here outside of band life? ...285 feet per second. So that was another 20 foot per second bump with losing an inch of draw length. So we see we're seeing a pretty steady progression there. But again, we are at the edge. If you choose to shoot your bands this way, you should not expect a lot of life out of them. All right, that one was low at 280, but low and to the left. That one was low, but windage was good at 279. We have had a breeze pick up here, and it is in the mid-60s today. All right, that was more in line with the last point of impact at 278. So we're seeing a little bit more variability between the speeds of these shots. Let's see, that one doesn't feel quite the same. Last shot here. All right, and that was a great point of view. So we got good consistency there. We see 276, so we had a spread of 276 to 285 at 6X elongation. I would say our center to center was worse at 6X. I'd say 5X is the sweet spot for these bands. However, if I were setting these up or handing them to a friend, or you wanted to go out for a longer afternoon, shoot them at 3X to 4X, the full length, or just trim them an inch, inch and a half off of them. Thing is just like carpentry, you can always delay your cut, but once you cut it, it's done. So whittle it down, see what you like. All right, so now that we've shot at 6X elongation, let's just take a look at what the draw weight was. All right, so that bumped us up to 10.1 pounds. So by no means is that really heavy draw weight, but it's heavy for these bands. So lighter weight bands, we can see that we're pushing upwards of 300 feet per second with less than 10 pounds of resistance. So that tells the story right there. We did start to see a little bit of deviation in our shot the higher the velocity we got, because these are not perfectly concentric. So clay has its limitations. It's terribly fun, terribly addictive to shoot, and great for your budget. However, if you want to be top accuracy, you're going to want to shoot steel balls. But check it out, go shoot it for yourself, see what you like, and give us your feedback. You probably have one more question. Hey, can I shoot larger clay ammo out of these bands? You sure can, so check this out. So this is our 11 mil clay ammo. If you want to shoot something a little bit larger, these bands shoot it really, really well. So let's stack a few shots and see what we get here. So again, same thing, 6x elongation. These are the clay bands that will come with your slingshot, but now we're shooting 11 mil clay ammo. A little bit more meat in that one, so it's a better splatter. But that was 256 feet per second. So if I recall correctly, we were at 280 or so for the 9.5. Ooh, stack that one, 260. $249, that's a big variability there. All right, so 5 shots, 262. So we're looking at 260, 57, somewhere in there, 258. That's pretty good. Again, 10.1 pounds of draw weight, shooting the clay bands at 6x elongation. So do keep in mind that shooting at 6x elongation is going to drastically reduce the lifespan of your bands. You would see a proportional drop as you lengthen the bands back to a 5x or a 4x for shooting 11 mil clay ammo. But these bands will comfortably and reliably shoot both 9.5 millimeter clay ammo as well as 11 millimeter clay ammo. All right, up next, so we're going to shoot our 3/8 band sets. So you've got a sample of 3/8 or 9.5 millimeter steel balls. These weigh about 55 grains a piece. And you've got your band set, and this is a 0.7 millimeter thick, 15 by 22 taper. So I really enjoy this taper. This is my personal go-to band set for 3/8. But what we're going to do here, just like our clay ammo, we're going to tune these bands. So tuning means understanding how they work around your draw length. So in the previous video, we established that we've got a 30-inch draw set up here. We're shooting these bands fully untuned, so we're going to get about a 3x elongation shooting them full length at 10 inches. All right. So we're going to take 5 shots with 3/8 steel. And one thing to pay attention to here, where you're not trying to shoot bullseyes here, we're trying to shoot groups. So we're looking for grouping consistency, center to center. That was 169 feet per second. Excuse me. Last shot was also 169. 168. $168. Now you'll notice here I'm taking my time to really center these up in the pouch. Of course I want consistency here, but you want to do the same thing when you're shooting. Consistency is key. All right, so that was our 5th shot, 167. That one is a little bit low. We've got a decent grouping there. So what we're going to do is we're going to do just like the bands before. We're going to go ahead and step up to 4x, 5x, and 6x elongation. And just in case you were wondering, let's go ahead and get draw weight of these bands at 3x elongation, 30 inches, full length. That's 8.7 pounds. So yeah, they're light bands, and that's a good thing. So check this out. They're not going to get much heavier, and we're going to see some big performance increases. So stay tuned. 4x coming up. All right, so now we've got these guys set up to shoot at 4x elongation. So this is basically 7.5 inches of rubber in our system, latex drawn out to 30 inches, shooting the 3/8 ammo. So a couple of things to pay attention to here is we got a fresh set of bands. So we mentioned earlier in the previous video, bands need a few shots to get broken in, 10, 15, 20 shots. So we got 5 shots on it. I've been doing a little stretching here, so we should see our groups tighten up here. Bands do need a moment to settle in. All right, so 4x elongation. I am noticing with these heavier bands a little bit of flex in the sawhorses on our rig, so we could be having a little bit of variability in our system here. So that's one thing we could do better with this rig, is to mount it to something absolutely solid. But I'm liking the looks of that. So that was 220 feet per second. Prior shot, sorry, I didn't mention that. That was 219 feet per second at 4x elongation. This is about where I shoot my bands, and I've got roughly a 31 inch draw. I'm happy with this performance. Out in the field, I can destroy cans nicely, reach out and hit what I'm looking to shoot. You can always shoot faster though. That one was had a misread on the chronograph. 220. All right, and final shot here. Okay, 219. So really consistent velocity there. Let's take a look at what the draw weight was. Of course, that draw weight is going to go up. We did lose about 2.5 inches of band. Draw weight is at 12.6 pounds. So 12.6 pounds of resistance at 30 inches is giving you about 220 feet per second with a 55 grain projectile. You can figure out the foot-pounds on that. It's decent. I won't calculate it off the top of my head, but it's well under 12 foot-pounds. And that's really what you want for hunting. But right now we're tuning these bands to shoot well for us. All right, so up next, 5x elongation. We're going to go ahead and trim these bands down, take another 5 shots, see if our groups start getting any tighter, and see what kind of increase we get on our velocity. All right, we're back with the 5x elongation. So we went ahead and reset a fresh target. We started shooting and started realizing that our point of impact was too close to the 4x elongation. So we got ourselves a fresh target out there. Let's see what 5x does for us. Okay, 254 feet per second. $249. So we're seeing a slightly higher point of impact between 4x and 5x. We're also seeing higher velocities. $248. $248 again. And 249. All right, so that was 5x elongation. So I noted when we first set that up that it did feel markedly heavier. So if I remember correctly, I think we were around 12 pounds at 4x. Let's see if we are at 5x. Puts us at 16.8. All right, so the truth of this here is these are still heavy bands according to modern slingshot shooting. Normally, folks would be shooting a 0.5 millimeter. So you ask, why are we not sending these bands out with 0.5 millimeter? Well, as I mentioned earlier, As you're learning, you will often make mistakes, and the bands can often be the thing that takes the brunt of that mistake first. Thinner bands are more fragile. So we're giving you a little bit more latex in the bands just to make up for it, to give you a little bit more durable band, but still get great performance. So here we are at 16.8 pounds, 5x elongation. We're shooting 250 feet per second with a 55 grain projectile. That's pretty decent. Yep, you can get more, and yep, if you want to go that route, you're going to either need to experiment, start making your own bands, just get out there in the slingshot world and see what you got. But what we provide you here at Simple Shot are bands that are reliable, durable, and have repeatable performance. So, thanks for taking a look at the 5X. We're going to go ahead and bump it up next to the 6X. See what we get. All right, so we just did the 5X testing. So we saw that come in. They were pretty stout. They were heavy. That was starting to become an unmanageable band. I do really like these at 4X, but we're going to go ahead and do 6X. We're going to say this right up front. We don't recommend shooting these bands at 6X elongation. There's better ways to get that velocity. This isn't a pleasant setup, but we will take a look for giggles just to see what we get at 6X elongation with these bands here. .272. And I believe that was quite high on the target, right on the edge. So our target might not be in the right position, but let's see if it stacks up there. Okay, yeah, we're grouping nicely. 267. That was a great shot, 266. All right, we would definitely want to pay attention to your tie-ins. You're really stressing the bands to the max at this point. Ooh, stacking them right in there. 266. And 267. All right, so that was an outstanding grouping. What we have here, though, is bands that are really heavy. So, you know, we're circling back to this conundrum here. Do we need heavy bands to have great velocity? So we're shooting 267 to 270 feet per second with, let's see what the draw weight is here. .22 pounds. So I do not have a store-bought wrist rocket type slingshot to compare to here, but you're going to find far less velocity for an equivalent poundage. So what you see here with flat bands, they're really efficient shooting bands. If you want speed, certainly it's there. You're going to pay for it with reduced band life, and it's going to be heavy. 22 pounds is quite a bit of resistance to hold between your fingers reliably. You're going to have to train up to that. Can you do it? Absolutely. Are there other ways to do it with less resistance? Absolutely. Get into slingshots, learn about how latex works, band ammo combinations, continue experimenting. Get in touch with us. But right now, you've got, in the slingshot you receive, all the bands and ammo for you to have an experience with lighter weight bands giving you great performance. All right, so a couple more takeaways here. So we're seeing that 5X and 6X with these 3/8 bands for the 3/8 steel, we're getting some pretty impressive groupings. That 6X grouping was truly impressive. 22 pounds of resistance. So what I want to point out here is that we're shooting on a machine, basically. This can be held forever, and it will release the exact same way every time. You're a human. You've got tender parts that are going to come under strain, that are going to want to give up a little bit of purchase. Giving up that purchase, not shooting the exact same way every time, is going to lead to downrange inconsistency. But more importantly, in your pursuit of speed, you run a high risk of causing damage to your slingshot bands, and possibly yourself by not being able to control that heavy of a band. So we can see here, you can get great performance, have a great experience at really lightweight bands. Start slow, get strong, get good, don't develop bad habits, and you'll enjoy your slingshot shooting a whole lot more. What we can take away here today is that our 9.5 millimeter clay bands that come with your slingshot, their sweet spot somewhere around that 4 to 5x elongation. Likewise, the 3/8, we're seeing crazy performance at 6x at a really high draw weight. If we back that up to about 4x, we're seeing equivalent performance, not quite as fast, but much more manageable. If it's more manageable and it's more easy for you to shoot, you're probably going to be more consistently accurate. And if being accurate is important to you, then understanding how slingshots work and applying a matched band and ammo combination is going to give you the most pleasure in your slingshot shooting journey. So thanks for being with us. Thanks for being a Simple Shot customer. If you ever need anything, you know where to find us.